Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chainlock Unlocked, the program which helps you unlock the power of blockchain. Unlocked is the program in which I speak to key influencers and entrepreneurs in the blockchain space. And I'm more than pleased to bring on Steve Hoffman, also known as Captain Hoff, to talk to us about this exciting new technology and what it means for the world, for startups, and everything in between. Captain Hoff, thanks so much for joining us.
Wonderful to be here. It's a very exciting time in the history of the blockchain.
Indeed, it is. Well, I really wanted to bring you on because I know you always have an eye on the future, on what these technologies mean for humanity, and what's really on the cutting edge of all of this. So this is just meant to be a free-flowing conversation, and it's just amazing what's going on in the blockchain space. If anyone's been watching, and let's just start with what's really been hitting headlines here a lot, which is the NFT, the non-fungible token phenomenon, which has just come to the fore. Every major publication is talking about it now because they're seeing, JPEG selling for $60 million. So what's up with that? What's up with NFTs? Is this a short-lived flash in the pan, or is this a revolutionary new financial technology?
This is both. Like all things that explode, there's often overhype, but at the same time, after that hype fades, there's something solid there. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are different from cryptocurrencies because cryptocurrencies are all the same. It's like a dollar bill. You can just exchange them. Whereas NFTs are unique. So each one is unique, like a piece of art or a collectible or something like that. And what they do is it allows you to secure ownership of that on the blockchain. You get a certificate of ownership for the digital asset. And the asset could be an image, like the one that sold for $69 million from Beeple, the digital artwork,
Right.
or it could be a tweet, like Jack Dorsey sold his tweet for 2.9 million, or it
Yep.
could be a video or anything else you can make digital, music, whatever it is.
Yep.
Now, my feeling is the trend is people are very excited because look at what's happened in the past 6 months. Bitcoin, the gold standard in the blockchain has gone through the roof. People have made a lot of money on cryptocurrencies recently. It's way past double what the previous high was. So we
Yep.
are seeing a kind of euphoria around cryptocurrency, and that has carried over into the non-fungible token space, NFT space. And that has created a lot of hype and a lot of people speculating, honestly, on buying these because who knows what they'll be worth a year from now. NFTs, like what this same digital object that you're buying is actually, people can just copy it. I mean, it's all over the internet. Well, you can go on Twitter and see Jack Dorsey's tweet right
Right.
now. So what is owning it? So what is
Right.
owning any of these? Number one, it's bragging rights. Number
Yep.
two, it's free PR. Like if you own it, if you buy one of these, you get a lot of attention.
Yep.
Number three, is it an investment? That is the really tough question. And what type of investment is it? So I've analyzed this to a great extent. And some of what I've come up with is that it parallels the art world. Now, if you're going to buy an NFT just from some random artists, like some of my friends are artists and they're putting up NFTs, but they're not selling, or they're selling for minuscule amounts of
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
And they're like, Steve, or Cap, they call me
I th-
Captain
yeah,
Hoff.
I thought posting an NFT was like an instant millionaire, right? No, it doesn't work like that, right?
That's what they say. They say you're supposed to be
Yeah.
an instant millionaire. You just put up whatever art. In some of these artworks that they're putting up there as NFTs are amazing. They're much better than kind of some of the honestly crappy stuff that's
Yep.
selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's a little toaster oven flying around or a meme of a cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so what's the difference? That's my question. The difference is people are buying things that are trending. things that have name value. So if it's associated with a celebrity like Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, they'll buy
Right.
it, and it's the first tweet ever, they'll spend millions on it. If
Right.
it's Beeple, a very well-known digital artist, they'll spend a lot of money on it. Or Banksy sold a little video clip, and they'll spend a lot of money on those. But if it's an unknown artist, just like in the art world, they're starving. They're
Right.
not really being.
Well, they can be broken, but they could also have been broken on Spotify, right? But so it's a new field. It's a new field of endeavor. You know, there can be no name artists which come out in this NFT world, but it's not.
Very, very good point.
Yeah.
Some artists that may not have been discovered have potential for being discovered in the NFT space. I
Right.
guess my point was, it's always by the law of supply and demand. It's going to focus on a few artists. Like, you got to be lucky, right? Even if you break through, you might be 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000. We don't know.
Right. Right. Which may be bettered your chances from 1 in 100,000 or 1 in a million on Spotify. Because the NFT world is still relatively small, you know, compared to all the other media, streaming media that's out there, right? So if you can kind of find a way as a new artist and get out there in the NFT space, maybe you have a better chance. I think that's your point, right? But I think NFTs mean so much more than JPEGs, right? So right now we're seeing images, maybe some music, maybe some video, maybe have a beer with some famous person or have a dinner with Warren Buffett or something. But I mean, let's look at it. A dinner with Warren Buffett is so qualitatively different than watching a video. And it's like, so all of a sudden an NFT can be tied to an experience. And then you go down that rabbit hole, all of a sudden NFT can be tied to like anything, you know, and it can be associated with anything that you want to have value. And I think that's, you know, how can we understand that, basically?
So that's both exciting, that it can be tied to almost anything that you can capture in digital form. So anything you can capture in digital form, it could be tied to. It's also going to mean that right now, like you said, if you get in early, the chance of getting a success is much higher. You know, I see the future where the NFT world, like podcasting, is flooded, right? Literally, in maybe even more so, because you could make an NFT out of virtually anything, any photograph you take, any video you take, any, you know, sound you make. Somebody sold his fart for like $85, and maybe it's going up in value. I don't know, but that happened. So there would be a massive supply. And what happens when there's a massive supply and the demand isn't there? You know, prices are pretty low for most things, except for exceptional things.
So when you say tied to a digital thing, you mean because getting a lunch with Warren Buffett isn't of itself digital, but if someone makes a video of it or something,
Yes.
or there's some metadata associated with it, because the whole idea is that I could make a token and say this token is tied to me walking down the street. It's not a digital aspect, and someone could say, all right, I want that token in my wallet because Mark walking down the street has some significance to me. Now, it doesn't have significance to most people, so no one's going to buy that. But if it's Michael Jackson walking down the street, you know,
Exactly.
you
So
take notice.
I think we're saying exactly the same thing. You know, if this is my criteria for it going. There has to be an avid fan base, a fan base that really cares passionately to sustain the value over the long run. So if you look at collectibles, which is a good analogy for NFTs, you know, baseball cards, you know, there are baseball fans out there and they want to have, and there's scarcity, right? So there's certain cards that are scarce of top players and they'll pay for them. The same goes in the NFT space, kind of. So I see NFTs as being really strong, not necessarily in lifting every artist up. That was my point, right? It's not, or making all of us, when we just create a little video or an image, making us rich. That's, you know, if that happens at the beginning, we got really lucky, or at any time. But it's not going to be something that we can count on. What we can count on in NFTs is fan bases. So if you love anime and manga, and they make NFTs out of your favorite, you know, graphic novels, comic books, you know, and movies, those might mean so much to you and to enough other people that there's bidding for them and there's an exchange. There's a marketplace, right? There has to be a marketplace. Also for games, we know gamers, they love to show off stuff. They love to get stuff. If they could own, special items in the game or special, that give them powers or even show off value, these are really important. And they are already building virtual worlds where they're tokenizing all the items in the virtual world, and there's an economy there. The bottom line is that there'll be many different economies in the NFT space. There isn't one, right? And they will revolve around different communities, groups of people coming together because they're passionate about it. And if these economies are really sustainable, if there's a really deep fan base, right, that goes on for years and years, right? It's not just a fad,
Right.
like Beanie Babies. They stick with it, like certain TV shows, certain games, certain manga, entertainment content, certain celebrities. There's this ongoing fan base. It's also really sustainable if you combine NFTs with games in some sort of game mechanic. So we kind of saw this with CryptoKitties, the little virtual pet game. We kind
Exactly.
of
Exactly.
saw this with NBA Top Shots. It took the fan base of the NBA, right, wed it into kind of a marketplace game where you buy these videos and trade them, sort of like trading cards, but they're little short videos. LeBron James going for a lot of money. So in those environments, I see NFTs mirroring what we've already seen in the gaming world with virtual goods and virtual currency. I was in this space, spent a lot of time with it.
Right.
If as long as the game is popular, doesn't fall out, and fans are in there and it keeps getting updated, people will keep assigning value to those virtual goods. I see the same thing playing out in the NFT space.
So is there like a gamification layer that's going to come out of this? Because I feel like and I haven't bought a crypto kitty because I can't afford one, but they're really cool. But I mean, if you buy a crypto kitty or an NBA Top Shot video, I'm not sure how much game there is in that. It's more like buying it and selling it. It's an investment. Is there a gamification layer that's going to go on top of that so you can there's more dynamics to it, or how do you see that happening?
That's a really great question, and I've analyzed this, and I I agree with you. The gameplay in those in CryptoKitties, in NBA Top Shots, the gameplay is trading, right? Like it's
Right.
literally, can I make money? Like people are trading these like they would trading cards or something
Which
else.
Robinhood did to some extent, makes it like kind of day
Yeah,
trading
they
and everyone can
gamified
jump in
stock.
and yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's that level of gameplay, which appeals to a lot of people, especially like CryptoKitties kind of, it had its moment and then it went down. Now it's kind of coming back because of all the, the hype around NFTs, but it won't be sustainable is my guess. However,
Really? Okay.
in the long run, okay, because the gameplay is weak. It's like you said, unless they really redo it, right? And go much deeper
So
with it.
you think the value is going to be tied to how engaging and interactive it is. Just the buying and selling is not enough to sustain it. There has to be something deeper.
Two things. If the fan base is a really active, passionate fan base, then it doesn't need deep gameplay. Just the trading is enough. So you could take famous comic book characters like Spider-Man and things like that, and moments from the great comic books, right? And encapsulate those in NFTs, and they could own that one of a kind. Is that will there always be a market for that? I think so, right? Because there are always new comic book fans and there are always new movies coming out and all this stuff, right? So that has sustainability. Whether CryptoKitties has built that sort of fanatic fan base, I haven't seen it yet. So until they do, the way to sustain it would be to deepen the gameplay. So those are two forces, right, driving these. When you combine them, it gets even more powerful, right? And so if you have fans of something and there's some deeper gameplay for engagement, we've seen it with games. Like a lot of these games, the virtual goods markets are super hot while the game is hot, right? And then when the game kind of gets old, the virtual goods, they don't go for much.
See, that's a really interesting insight because I'm just not that tapped into the gaming space. So you see a similar cyclic action in games that are hot or like online massively multiplayer games, this kind of thing where assets cost more and then less over time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people
Okay.
even, like World of Warcraft and all these things, they'll exchange characters, they'll buy characters and stuff. As long as it's hot, they'll pay a lot of money. But when
Right.
people get tired of it, they don't care anymore. So they move on to the next shiny object. So it's entertainment, right? And we're going so there's those two values, right? The fan value and then the pure entertainment of the product. Like, is it fun to engage with it? That engagement, you're being engaged in like a game or a virtual world or anything, creates attachment. And the more attached you become, the more likely you are to fork out money to see the value, and other people are to buy it. So the economy is improved. So right now, the first movers like CryptoKitties, CryptoPunks, and NBA Top Shot, those are those are flooded right now. Those markets are hot because they're getting in a massive amount of press, a massive amount of attention, and people are moving into this space. Over a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, they're going to have work to do. It's going to be very competitive. People have a limited attention span. They tend to be passionate over only a certain amount of things at once. They pick their passions because they don't have time and energy. And those passions are what translates into value. And the value can translate into cryptocurrency, which can then become dollars, if you like.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to break down the whole concept of the fan world, because we see in projects like there's some interesting projects like Euler Beats, which was algorithmically generated music, and then it had an associated graphic, and their own kind of minting process, and that's been doing very well. And now it costs 20 or 30 ether to buy an algorithmic piece, and they made like 80 of these. So all of a sudden, all these computer hackers are doing pretty good with that one, right? But there's also virtual real estate like Somnium Space. So in these didn't have a lot of baked in fans. Well, as CryptoKitties, no one knew what a CryptoKitty was until they launched it, right? And someone said that's interesting. So you have this, digitization of virtual real estate, of algorithmic music. There will be something else around the corner, but this is where your startup hat comes on, right? Because they have to start something and show that this is interesting and show that the production value is so impressive that it's worth getting in. And so how do you generate a fan base in this new world? Is it the same model as generating a fan base, in anything else?
Yes, I think it is. And I want to point out that, remember the early days of the iPhone, when it first came out? Virtually any app sold. You could have an app of, I remember the match lighter one, right? Today, those, people aren't paying for that. People aren't making millions of dollars off a match lighter, an app that simulates a match lighter. We're in those days in the NFT space. Let's face it, And, you remember when ringtones, people, there were literally hundreds of millions or billions globally dollars worth of sale of ringtones. And now the business is gone. So there are going to be a lot of these that come and go, honestly, that won't have long-term value. They will have their moment, and maybe you'll buy low at the beginning and sell at the peak and get super lucky. But that's the type of investment it is. Which ones will be sustainable remains to be seen. It's hard to pick which of these will go on and have a life. But a lot of it depends on, a lot of these initial ones are gaining traction because they're first movers, and there isn't a lot out there. There isn't a lot of competition. When there's a lot of competition, people are going to get very choosy about which ones they do.
And then you're going to look at things like gamification and other aspects, and yeah.
Totally. And it's all in like all things, it tends to be a winner take all market. There are going to be a few hits that, everybody goes to because they get all the attention and they do something amazing and new. And then all the other ones kind of fade away, and we've seen this over and over, So this is just normal for any new marketplace. The exciting thing is it is a new marketplace. And like in all new marketplaces, there will be it will evolve. Right? This whole NFT space will evolve. It's a very interesting underlying concept and technology that I think will take many forms. I still think there are a number of things people need to worry about in the NFT space or need to understand. So if you like, I can explain some of these.
Yeah, I mean, I know of a few, but I want to get your take on it. I mean, in terms of, to start, where is the data stored? If that server goes down, does your NFT disappear? What kind of metadata is actually tied to your NFT, which associates it with any digital file? Oftentimes there's none. you know, there's key IP issues. There's stories of people stealing just art, digital art, and saying it's my NFT, and you know what's the actions of recourse for
Yeah.
that. I mean, there's so many. Yeah. What's your thought on in terms of like building the infrastructure and what it needs right now to gain credibility in the market?
Yeah, so people need to understand it's an immature marketplace, and they
Yep.
need to understand what they're buying. So when they're buying an NFT, they are basically assigning the digital rights to this on the blockchain. But what are those rights, and where is the asset stored? So, like you said, the asset is not stored in the blockchain. It's literally a
Okay.
link to it, and it's stored on whatever server the original owner uploaded it on. Now, if that server goes away, you might have paid millions of dollars for this, but the company where they uploaded it goes bankrupt. It's gone. Like poof,
Yeah.
right now. But all these problems are solvable. Technology. What we've seen is to everyone, these are technical problems. So there's technical solutions. So it's not too bad. It's just something you have to be aware of. The other thing is, like NBA Top Shots, NBA protects its brand, right? It's a big conglomerate. Its brand is super valuable. So they really limit the rights to what you don't own it in the way that you could take that video or a JPEG and deface it. If you do that, you break their terms and conditions. If you
Sure.
put
Sure.
if you put that video up on a site that offends them in any way or diminishes the NBA brand, whether it's a pornography site or a hate site or even just a site they don't like, they can remove. They can terminate the
Right.
license. So different NFTs don't all have this. They're not all created equal. You have to understand what's actually in what the terms are for the NFT you're getting, because it does make a difference, especially in the legal world. Like it's what rights do you have? Right now, like in NBA Top Shot, you have the right to trade it within that platform, right? But outside that platform, you really don't have rights. With
Okay.
other content, you may have more universal rights. At some point, we may build in the mechanism so that you possess a certain copyright. Right now, copyrights are different than NFT ownership, right? So
That's
the
right.
original artist still owns the copyright. They still own the brand. What you can do with it is you can't do everything you might think you could do with it because you're not the full owner of it. You are the owner of this on the blockchain in a certain way. And that's something we can work out over time. And there will need to be 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 NFTs as we build this infrastructure and figure out all these issues globally, not just the copyright laws in the US, but around the world. And what about, video clips that have other people in them? Do you need permission from them? What about video clips that have music playing in the background? You're at a party, and that music is licensed by somebody else. What rights do the NFT give you? It's a really interesting problem to solve, which we're just at the very beginning of.
Yeah. Go read the history of Napster or something. I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
It's just it can live for a while. How excited are you about this? I mean, you've seen some technologies rise and fall. You've seen the launch of the internet, other core technologies. I mean, in the context of blockchain, in the context of crypto, is NFT something you are excited about?
I am. Uh, I I tend to be a techno enthusiast by nature, but I am not one of those people who has blind faith. So I'm always there's two sides of me. One who just loves new technology, loves inventions, is often surprised by what comes out of something that seems often something that doesn't see that has a lot of holes in it at the beginning, and you can poke a lot of holes in it. Later matures into something that's extremely robust and has applications you didn't even foresee. So, uh, and then,
Right.
the other half is, I'm not one of these people to go, kind of these religious zealots who likes everything of a certain technology, everything AI, everything blockchain, everything virtual reality. There's certain people who will dismiss any criticism. I'm one who likes to engage on multiple levels and think really deeply about these and understand them, and then start to see where they take us, not where we think they should go, right? So there's a big difference there. Like I could imagine what NFTs should be, but what NFTs become could be very different. And a lot of people have their imagination out there. What I will say is I am excited enough, I have a fund and I'm working with one of my partners, Larry Braitman, and we're actually looking to fund in this space, in the NFT space, in the blockchain space as it evolves. So we're really looking for amazing entrepreneurs out there who have new breakthroughs in the space. It can be on ramps and off ramps into the space. Like, how do you get people? It's, you can make it much easier. It could be ways of understanding these markets, analytics around the markets. It can be picks and shovels. What are the picks and shovels that people need to build this infrastructure? Or it could be these brands, like taking getting a license for a great brand and bringing it into the NFT space, a great game, a company that is doing football now, American football, just raised a ton of capital. These are very exciting times, and I think there'll be a lot of value created here. What I always like to tell people out there is that you have to be selective. You can't, just blindly put your life savings into these and hope it works, because that's very risky.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are looking at this and saying, is this the ICO hype all over again? I mean, is it what's real and what's not? And I think as an investor, that's the kind of question you'll have to be asking, right? Like, what kind of teeth does this project have to really move?
It's funny, years ago, in the first crypto boom, everybody is super excited. I said, especially about all the altcoins coming out. And I told them, look, I don't know which of these is going to succeed. Like, it's really hard to know, but I do
They're all
know.
going to succeed. What are you talking about, Captain Hoff? What do you mean? It's an altcoin. It's crypto mania. Yeah.
Yeah, what I told them, what I do know is that the market leaders right now, Bitcoin, Ethereum at the time, if you put your money into those are the safest bets for the long run, because they're already market leaders. And there's something about that that's really hard to replicate. All the rest of them, you should be very cautious about what, putting, put money you can afford to gamble if you're going to Vegas, like that type of money, as opposed to, your savings
Right.
into these. So that was my advice. And pretty much it panned out that way. I mean, there's some of these altcoins that are good now, but I didn't know how to pick, like, out of the thousands, that were out there, which handful would be sustainable. And the same is true now with NFTs. The same is true with all new technology when it creates these kind of booms. Always, my advice is, if you aren't a complete speculator or gambler, go with the market leaders. Those are the safest bets. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. And honestly, they tend to pay off. Like, they tend to at least get your money back.
Well, I think also look at the fundamentals. Like, I think there's lessons to be learned from the ICO hype, right?
Yes.
Actually look at the company. Who are they? The same questions that VCs have been asking for a long time. What's the model? Just doing something in the NFT space may not be enough, right? Like, what are you doing that's actually moving the ball forward is the question.
Yes. And where
Yeah.
can you create value? Like, the end of
Right.
the thing, it's just like with a startup. I work with hundreds of startups at Founder Space, every year, helping fund them, helping mentor them. Um, it's, I look at a startup and I'm like, well, that's really cool, but what value are you providing and to whom? Like, and is that sustainable? Like, if you are really providing value to somebody and they have money to spend because they find it valuable, you have a business. Same is true. It doesn't matter if it's blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, any other thing on the internet, it's the same rule.
What's your wildest futurist prediction for what blockchain technology and or NFTs mean for humanity? Is there some weird future that you see could emerge in some way from this?
I do. So what I see is we're undergoing a digital transformation now. It's been going on for decades, right? So all of our businesses, all of our processes, from logistics to governing to you name it, like everything, entertainment, it is all moving to digital, and our lives, our personal lives. Like, we are spending more and more time in digital. We value it more and more. I have believed this for a long time. It's been a major trend that will continue. NFTs creates a new way to exchange value in the digital world. That is the thing I'm excited about. It's a new way to value content, value things people do in the digital space. There are a lot of applications for NFTs we may not have even thought of. They may apply to commodities in the real world. They may apply to government processes. They may, there may be things that are totally out of, that we're not even thinking of now, that turn out to be, the NFTs are perfect for. So what we're seeing now is one manifestation. And my feeling is that, yeah, in the long run, some form of NFT could be a major underpinning to our infrastructure for future commerce and future engagement, future online activity, which is pretty broad.
Yeah. Okay. You're not going to give us your secrets right now. Okay. You're
The
going to
secret,
keep.
I'm being honest with you. None of us know. Like
Right.
I can speculate on what will happen, but I don't know. What I do know is, you can only see so far out in the future based on what is happening now. But what I can see is that the development community in the blockchain is extremely robust. There are people going so deep, much deeper than even I have time to go. Like they're completely into this, and they are figuring out things that we don't even have an inkling of right now. And I will tell you, in addition to NFTs, there's going to be something else coming around the corner, and something after that, and something after that. And they may be permutations of NFTs and cryptocurrencies, or they may be totally different. But this ecosystem is really undergoing an amazing transformation. And that is what I'm excited about. And then when I drill into that, I look at specific opportunities and evaluate them like I would in a startup business. Where is this going? Is this a short-term investment? Can I enter and exit quickly? Is it a long-term one? What could this evolve into? All those questions come to mind.
When you saw blockchain start to emerge in 2008, I think it was, how long did it take for you to say this could really be something which is more revolutionary than a white paper somewhere? Like what was the process for you to see that there's something really serious emerging here?
So what I saw and what I said was the blockchain itself, I thought it's an amazing invention, right? The blockchain itself, when it was designed for one purpose, cryptocurrency. Like that's why it was built. A lot of people I saw at the time were taking blockchain and applying it to other problems, but applying it incorrectly. And so I said, it's going to take a while before we see blockchain a successful, we need to find the use cases where blockchain is really valuable. So I got so many pitches from entrepreneurs in the early days, and I would look at the pitch and I'm like, why are you using the blockchain? And more often than not, their answer was, well, they didn't have an answer. They're like, well, I can get funded. Like that was the answer, right? It's hot. Everybody's using it. It's the buzzword right now. They didn't. And I go, but you could solve this problem with a regular database and it would actually be easier. But you're like trying to do your business with the blockchain. Why are you using it? What advantage is the blockchain giving you? And they couldn't answer it. So in those cases, I was skeptical, right? I was just like, you're not going to work. And sure enough, like, most corporations had a team on the blockchain, most major corporations, but like 1% of those projects actually materialized into something useful, 1% of all those experiments, because the blockchain, especially in its initial incarnation, was very focused on doing one thing well. It's a different type of technology than, let's say, AI. So AI was much easier to apply broadly, right? Like right now, you can apply AI to almost any business. It's just like putting up a website. It makes it better, right? It can make it smarter. You can use data and make your business smarter. It can cover everything. The blockchain is a little narrower, but it's also very deep. So we need to find those narrow, deep matches. And that was that's what I kept telling people. Like, don't invest in everything blockchain, really figure out where blockchain as a tool is super useful in creating value against competitors who have not who are doing it another way. And if you can show them that using the blockchain is just so much better, then they will use it. If not, it's going to go away. And that's true of all new technologies. And that's generally, so I don't approach blockchain different than I approach any other new emerging technology, whether it's CRISPR or whatever it is, I'm always looking at it the same way. That means sometimes I miss out on opportunities, right? I don't see them, but we all do, right? So, and then sometimes I also filter out, what you need to do as an investor is filter out all the ones that just aren't going to go anywhere, because there's always a lot of these misguided attempts because people are experimenting. That's what the internet is about. That's what the blockchain is about. That's what all these new inventions are about. It's about experimentation, and then the experiments show us where to go. Most people, even if they're totally immersed in it, often stumble upon that innovation that takes it to a whole new level and creates a whole new kind of industry or way of doing something.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much, Captain Hoff. I think, yeah, I agree. A touch of skepticism, it goes a long way. I mean, these are very exciting times, and you're not going to get it on everything and every aspect of it, but try to understand the fundamentals, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor. What are you doing to create value, to add value? What demand are you fulfilling? And yeah, so those are great words for, I think, anyone who's watching here, whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, someone who's just casually interested in this space. Not everything is real. Not everything is going to fly. There are opportunities. You just have to use some critical thinking in terms of what's going to work and what's not, right?
I think you can have like a lot of things, a one-hit wonder, a song that's like a one-hit wonder. A lot of musicians had them, but then there are the great bands, right? Who persist throughout time. And really you want to look for something that's as an investor, a great band. I don't want a one-hit wonder like that. And as an entrepreneur, you want to be the great band, and that means really taking time to craft your business, like not just jumping on the bandwagon, to use another metaphor, right? And going along, copycatting, doing everything everybody else is doing, but really thinking about this business long term and where you're headed, who your customers are. All these questions, they all apply to the blockchain and everything that's going to come out of it. And what I do say is it's a great area for entrepreneurs to be immersed in, but it's very deep. So if you do the blockchain, you can't really do other stuff. Like you've got to pick, there's so many opportunities out there right now. I tell entrepreneurs, you have to go deep in the one you pick. So like we're looking to fund not just people who are into the blockchain because it's the hot new thing now. We want to fund people who are if you're coming to us and you don't know like everything about parachains and all the different infrastructure in the blockchain and the latest stuff that's happening, we're probably going to take a pass. Because I think those people who are so deep into this, that they understand all the nuances, they're going to figure out those little things that provide extreme value to that ecosystem and make it go to the next level.
Great. In our last few minutes, tell us about your new book, Surviving a Startup. That's very exciting, kind of encapsulating a lot of your knowledge around seeing all these startups emerge, fail, succeed, and everything in between. So tell us about the new book. How can people find it? And how can people connect with you and find out more about you?
Oh, great. So yeah, my new book is Surviving a Startup, and you can go to founderspace.com right there. Check it out. It's on the front page. Just scroll down. It's really, I have done 3 venture funded startups, 2 bootstrap startups. I work with hundreds of entrepreneurs accelerating their companies. And I took every piece of useful, the inside information, like that you learn the hard way, like you struggle, I put it in the book so that when entrepreneurs really hit those roadblocks, they're like, oh yeah, somebody else did it this way. And that's really smart. So the book is just dense. You read it. It's packed with stuff.
I did. I saw a copy of it, and I have to say, it's just it's like every sentence is just packed full of valuable information. There's no fluff. It's just this is how to think about the problem if you want to succeed as a startup. It's not always intuitive knowledge. It's just what works. And I can't recommend it more highly for anyone who's thinking of launching a company in any space, because you're bound to find some really amazing gems in there, and probably more than one. So now there's a promo that you're offering as well. Can you talk about that?
Sure. If you want to order the book now, go to founderspace.com/promo, and you can get our entire online startup program free when you buy the book. So normally that costs more than the book. So it's a really good deal. But we're getting, the book is launching right now, published by HarperCollins. So go there, sign up, and you can have that. Also, if you want to reach out to me on any network, from Clubhouse to Instagram to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, just search for Founderspace. So it's super easy. I'm on all of them. I love responses. I love engaging. I love going out there. Like if there are other events out there, other people, who want to engage on the blockchain, anywhere in the world, just let me know.
All right, Steve Hoffman, also known as Captain Hoff of Founderspace. Thanks so much for joining Unlocked today. Have a great rest of your day and all the best going forward.
You too. Take care. It's really fun.